Okay, video one. I just bought this Philco bullet 37610, I believe it is, and it just arrived today. So let's see what kind of condition it's in. So amazingly, it survived the shipping intact. The dial looks like it's broken. All the knobs are there, the case is solid, the cabinet is solid. It is as advertised. There's several tubes missing, and it's dirty. I don't see a cabinet label. Oh, there it is, 37-610. And the goal is to put it in put the chassis into this cabinet here, which is a 37610 tombstone. And in that tombstone cabinet is a Philco 38-624, a 6-volt car battery chassis or farm radio. And that radio chassis was originally in a Philco bullet cabinet like this one. So I'm going to restore the 37624 back to its original style cabinet, and this chassis will go into that tombstone and will still be an appropriate chassis for it. So here's the beginnings of what I hope will be completing or restoring to original the 37 or the 38-624 back into a bullet cabinet. So back in July I went to the California Historical Radio Society's swap meet and auction, and I picked up these writer's manuals. This is volume 7. I also got volume 6 and volume 10, and I believe one other volume. And in volume 7 was the paperwork I needed for the 37-610. Right there. So last night I pulled the pages out and scanned them so I can start working on the bullet. And I cleaned them up and got them printed out. They're right here. And I went through the list and marked the various film capacitors needed and the electrolytics, and went through my stock, and I had everything, and I just dropped it into my little cup here. So hopefully later tonight I will be going through the chassis and starting to replace some of the capacitors. When I received this, I took some pictures of it and put it up on the forum in the September Finds blog or thread. and I posted a picture of this. And as you can see, it's the factory labels. One of them is for 37-610, it shows the chassis layout. And the other label is another Philco label, it says 38-610. And Ron posted back saying this was another factory Franken Philco. This radio was probably released at the end of, or built at the end of, the 37 sales year. And the factory probably had some left over and just slapped a newer label in it and sent it out the door to be sold. So, thought that little piece of trivia might be interesting to some of you. Some of the tubes were gone, and the ad stated that, so I knew that going into it. But there were 2 tubes, I believe, in there, and I did check them, and they checked out okay. And I went through my stock of tubes and found a couple more, but I'm still missing 1 or 2, I think. And so what I'm going to do is check the tubes that are in my 37-620. It uses the same tubes. So if I find the good tubes in that, then what I'll probably do is pull them and use them for this restoration. Then I'll just get replacement tubes for the 620 later. Oh, one other thing I did last night was pulled the chassis out and looked at what I might need as far as chassis support washers, and yanked this out. That's a chassis support washer. And there's also the ones that isolate the tuning capacitor section, or the RF. I guess that's what's called the RF unit. Anyway, went ahead and went online and ordered the replacement pieces from Renovated Radios, so they should be on the way soon. Okay, I got the chassis pulled out of the cabinet and took it outside and used a can of air and a soft bristled paintbrush to dust things off, get the cobwebs off. As you can see, the 2 filter capacitors are gone and something wired in its place. The speaker looks good. Nice and clean, no holes, no tears. I put the dangling dial light, snapped it back into place so it's not hanging around loose while I'm working. It still looks a little dirty, but it cleaned up pretty nice. So now I'm going to start working on replacing the capacitors.